Um, Okay, so we're recording. It's 2 o'clock, October 29th, 2025. This is the Ashland County Board Planning Committee meeting. And we will commence with the roll call, please.
George Bousset,
Here.
Bradley Ray is excused, Elizabeth Franick. Beautiful. Hi, Elizabeth. Oh,
Please, everybody, use your microphones, okay?
okay. And then I have Pat Kinney,
Here.
Gary Mertig. Excused. Okay. Paul Wilharm,
Here.
Dan Grady,
Here.
Lissa Radke,
Here.
and Charlie Ortman.
Here.
Thank you.
So we do have a quorum. We move to the approval of the agenda.
Move to approve the agenda.
Mr. Ortman moves to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Kenny, it's a second. Is there discussion? Okay, we will vote. So all in favor of the agenda as stands, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? The agenda is therefore approved. And we enter into our public comment period. Is there anybody present in the room for public comment? Is there anybody online for public comment? Is there anybody present for public comment? There be no public comment. We move on to the next item on the agenda, which is approval of the minutes of the September 30th meeting. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Make a motion to approve the minutes?
Mr. Ortman moves to approve. Is there a second?
Wilharm will second.
Mr. Wilhelm, seconds. Is there discussion? There being no discussion, we vote on the minutes. All in favor of approving the minutes of the September 30th meetings, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The minutes are thereby approved.
No, I told you my fun facts yesterday.
Well, in the spirit of offering one, the Shores Mansion was built in Ashland in the 1890s. A lumber baron built it, and the rooms were done in different woods. And so doors were made so that they had different woods on different sides of the doors to match the room. The Shores Mansion went away in the 1950s, and my grandparents acquired some items from there, including a couple of doors. A number of years ago, we donated, when we took down the original farmhouse, donated those doors to the Ashland Historical Society. And they also had, when you came into the house, a hand-hewn, big 6 foot wide, 7 foot tall wardrobe made out of oak. And we donated that to Our Lady of the Lake in their back area where they have their garments. So that's 2 items, or number of 3 items total from the Shores Mansion from the lumber baron era that are still here.
The history of wood in northern Wisconsin. Any fun facts from you, Paul?
I have this book here that's stuffed full of fun facts, especially about wind sled history. Now, George had it since the last meeting and it's sitting here, and I hope somebody else will take it until the next.
Could you hold it up, Paul, so we can see it?
Yeah, sometimes just living on the island, I feel.
Oh, Lissa. Okay, Lissa, you're up.
Oh, thank you. I just wanted to mention that there's a fantastic online resource about Ashland County that you could just waste a couple of hours watching all their beautiful videos and reading fun facts. It's travelashlandcounty.com. And I gotta say, I've lived here for 25 years in Ashland, and I never knew we had an annual Clam Lake Elk Festival. I don't know if anybody else knew that, but it's a big happening event. This year it was September 20th. Clam Lake is in Ashland County, of course. It's the elk capital of Wisconsin. They have activities for kids, and several community clubs have picnics and raffles and a meat raffle. And as a side note, we all know elk have really large hoofs, but also a resident of Cable in June this year saw Bigfoot on County M outside of Clam Lake. So Big Elk and Big Feet.
Sounds like fun. Liz, anything from you? Go ahead.
Well, not a fun fact, but good news about the area. You know, I work in retail and restaurants, and customers that have never been to Ashland County before are having a great time at Copper Falls, Madeline Island, seeing the mosaic artwork in the tunnel downtown Ashland, the murals. They're very awed by our Ashland area and the county.
Charlie, anything from you?
Have none, but thank you.
Anything from the Northwest Regional Planning Team? Oh, you don't know any fun facts about Ashland County? Not yet. Okay, you just wait. I have one thing to note is that in the Wisconsin County's officials directory for the current year, it says that we have 300 miles of trout streams and 64 inland lakes. And I just thought that's an interesting fact because we don't have much in terms of inland water south of Shawinigan Bay. And that maybe sometime in our planning, we can think about the fact that we have a lot of rivers. So moving on, if there are no more fun facts, we will move to discussion items. And the first of which is our friends comes from Northwest Regional Planning. And I turn it over to you, Emily.
Thank you. And today we will continue where we left off from our September meeting. And then based on today's discussion about the draft community survey, Northwest Regional Planning will take that feedback and put that survey into its digital version. So when we left off at our last meeting, we were within the housing section on page 4, and it was number 19. And the revision from our last discussion from do you think Ashland County lacks affordable housing? Based on that discussion, the current revision reads as, how would you describe housing availability for low and middle income residents in Ashland County? Sufficient, insufficient, or unsure? And this is to measure perception of housing adequacy in Ashland County. And today we want to decide if we want to keep this as written in the draft to make any revisions to that, or if this is something that we might not want to include in the final survey. Yes.
Is there a way of, I mean, we don't really have urban culture here. Ashland is our urban center, but I wonder if there's a way to distinguishing between housing in the more rural part of the county versus housing in the more developed part of the county. And would that make a difference to people? I'm just thinking out loud here.
Well, George, I think part of the problem, one of the issues is that people in the southern part of the county are getting priced out of their housing because all these out of towners are coming in and buying up cheap land and houses. So I do think that you're going to get a lot of insufficient from the southern part of the county.
And
So-
then in the later part of this survey for the demographics, we have a question about which municipality do you live in? So then we could take a look at and analyze some of those sorts of trends.
Makes sense to me. Thank you.
Any other?
So in the question, it doesn't define low income nor middle income. And so just those definitions, people may interpret differently, especially if they're on the upper income. And then another thing with this whole income thing is, you know, when we say income, a lot of people think, okay, what's my paycheck? What's my, W-2, show? But then there are retired people who have investment income. So if you talk about tax returns and look at, adjusted gross income or taxable income, those for some people are quite high numbers from investment income. But are they thinking then, what am I earning as a paycheck? So there's these things that aren't well defined or
You-
interpreted differently.
Do you think that income qualifier is necessary for the question? Should we take out the income portion and say, how would you describe housing availability for residents in Ashland County?
Either taking it out or maybe using a phrase, like those with modest incomes or limited, resources, or, something that gets at the gist of, we're talking about people in the lower, half or something a bit under that. Because if I look at low and middle income, the first thing in my mind at least is, okay, tell me the number range there. And I've got a ballpark idea, but I don't know. Someone else might come up with different numbers. And yeah, and and the other thing is, I grew up out by Mason, so you talk to people out of town. It's always interesting their perceptions of Ashland. Liz, same with you. Is people will talk about Ashland and say, oh, there's this, that, and the other that's good or bad or ugly and stuff. And so sometimes people hear stories. I'm thinking lower part of Ashland County or maybe even Marengo and Mellon. They hear about Ashland, and what they might be hearing isn't necessarily representative of Ashland. They might be hearing stories about, let's say some people tried to move to Ashland, struggled to find something, and then the word is you can't find any housing in Ashland. But maybe that's not true. It's just that person couldn't find something and maybe for whatever reason didn't know where to look or weren't patient or
Just like to say that on the other side of the coin, these terms, low income, middle income, high income, are pervasive in the public discussion and avoids confusion just to use those simple terms, even though in some ways they kind of be misrepresentative, but they're really commonly used terms in the culture.
I think it should be worded, this is just my opinion, how would you describe housing availability in Ashland County?
Is there a consensus for that?
Yeah. Yes, simple.
Would you describe housing availability in Ashland County? Sufficient, insufficient, or unsure?
I could go with that. I was going to suggest, is there an adequate supply of housing availability for all residents who need housing?
Once again, with the demographics, there's a question at the end about income levels. So you can cross-correlate this to their income levels.
Yeah, and I was just going to say that. So the simple question, because you can correlate.
So keep it the simple, how would you describe housing availability? All right. And then question number 20, which we have not yet gotten to. Which types of housing should be prioritized in the next 10 years? And this is to select up to 3. We have single family homes, duplexes, 2-family homes or townhomes, condominiums for purchase or ownership, apartments that are for rent, senior active adult housing, tiny homes that are individual or clustered, as well as other. Please specify. And this would be to identify demand for the housing types in the county. Taking a look at future priorities.
My question would be, how do we distinguish between basically in-town, in the city homes versus town homes out in the country? Because I think it makes a lot of difference to people. There's just, you could have the same building, but if you're 10 miles out of town on 30 acres versus in town on a street on a quarter acre, do we differentiate that somehow?
Do you think at the scale of a comprehensive plan, that would be a question to ask in general about housing? So this, we're looking at the overall demand for housing. And then once you have that information, you can take that and distill that down further into your future planning activities.
Okay, so I guess once again, we can sort it out by township.
Yes.
Okay.
I think
And Could we, my first question was, prioritize for what? Do we want to add a word like for development? What types of housing should be prioritized for development? I mean, I think we know what we're saying, but if we look at this from a new user, it's not really clear prioritize for what.
For future development, for development.
Yeah, for development.
Which type of housing should be created in the next 10 years?
That's
Develop
what I
in the
assumed
next-
it meant. That's
Charlie,
probably not the best word, but
we just say new housing.
Which types of new housing should be prioritized in the next 10 years?
Is that okay with everybody? That's pretty, Pat?
There's two things that give me some uneasiness. I don't want to quite say word bias here, but when we say housing, that word almost creates a bias towards the individual family home. So trying to think of another word, living space or, places where people live, because housing suggests the individual family home. In Ashland, at least, we've got a lot of older buildings that are homes that have been cut up into duplexes, some of which need remodeling. We've got, spaces in Ashland that could be renovated, and created, turned into housing, like, upper level of buildings in downtown Ashland. So we don't want to necessarily exclude in the conversation or the thought process renovation of existing buildings to increase the housing supply.
maybe say domicile.
Domicile or, then that's a good appropriate word. But there's a lot of renovation that can be done too.
Because the question right after that, the strategies to prioritize, one of those listed is to convert vacant commercial or industrial buildings into housing. So those two questions sort of complement each other.
Agreed.
I'd like to make a process comment. We have an additional 30 questions to go through here, and we have an hour to do it. So that's roughly 2 minutes per question. So if we could all try to be really concise, please.
So for number 20, which types of new housing should be prioritized in the next 10 years? Any further revisions? '21, which strategies should be prioritized to improve housing ability? Select all that apply to adjust zoning regulations to expand housing options, support low and middle income housing development, support senior housing development, limit short-term rentals, use public funding for housing initiatives, convert vacant commercial or industrial buildings into housing, and in other, please specify.
I
Charlie,
like it.
Charlie?
I like it. I think it's fine.
The only comment I have is, do we, instead of low and middle income, do we want to say workforce?
Workforce,
That's the
workforce
current,
housing.
that's the current buzzword, so.
I'm not sure all those people are working.
I know, but it takes some stigma away when you use it.
And maybe there's a way we can be consistent with that word, because I know at a previous meeting, we decided we would take out workforce housing. So.
And then that one is, talks about the one where we talked about removing the workforce or any other sorts of words. We changed to how would you describe housing availability in Ashland County? So it's very general. So question number 21, is there consensus? The only revision is the support workforce housing development.
Yeah, well, I think it's okay because the next one is senior housing. So the other major segment of low and middle income is senior, but that's already here in the next choice. So workforce sounds okay to me.
Yes.
A real quick question. I'm not sure why some of these allow us to select up to 3 and some say select all that apply.
Is there a preference? Is there, I think that's just,
Easier to organize. I mean.
Personally, I don't see a problem with that.
I don't see a problem with it. I just don't know, understand why, like some just get you 3 choices and some say choose as many as you want.
I think in reality, it was because these questions came from other sorts of surveys.
Charlie?
I guess to Lissa's point, if we're asking them to prioritize and they pick them all, how do we know which ones is number 1, 2, or 3, or 4, or 5?
Do we want to rank those?
That, if we're gonna leave select all, then I think we should probably rank them. But that might turn them off.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. If you're gonna have select all that apply, it probably should be ranking. And otherwise, it should just be select the top 3.
Is there a preference?
Other comments?
Well, if there's I'm sorry.
Pat?
Well, the ranking would be more informative, but it also takes longer if we're saying you can get through the survey quick. My question is on limiting short-term rentals, or specifically, what are we talking about there? If we're talking about Airbnbs, that's one thing, but I had plenty of students who, when they needed housing, would look for stuff where they could rent, say for a month or 2 until they find something longer term. So one person might interpret short-term rental as I just need a place for a month or 2. I don't want to sign a 6-month or a 12-month lease. If we're concerned about Airbnb,
Paul?
Short-term nightly rental.
There's such thing as visiting nurses, visiting engineers. There are facilities specifically for short-term 1 or 2 months kind of rentals for professionals coming in and going out. If the pipeline goes through, there might be a lot of that, So yeah, I think it has to be differentiated somehow.
short-term rental for housing, but
I think Paul is right, short-term daily, nightly rentals.
how is that different than an Airbnb then?
That would be the Airbnb, the short-term nightly.
How about like the month to month?
I mean, the hotel room is a short-term rental, so
Yeah, but that's
Weekly
not
rent.
housing, that's a hotel. I think people know the difference.
yeah.
At least I hope they do.
Well, for one thing, I think Airbnb is a trade name, right?
There's other platforms besides Airbnb,
Yeah.
VRBO,
Right.
home.
And I think when you mention a short-term rental, that's where everybody's mind goes in the first place is Airbnb, VRBO, that sort of rental.
Yeah.
Correct.
The number of short-term rentals such as Airbnb,
Or just say limit Airbnbs.
such as Airbnbs.
How about in the parentheses, just put in parentheses after short-term, 1 month or less? That kind of draws a line. No? Yes, no? Would that work, Emily? Okay.
Any other provisions? And then to the transportation, how would you rate the overall condition of the following roads and highways in Ashland County? Federal highways, the example, US Highway 2, state highways, example, State Highway 13-112. County highways, examples, County Highways C, E, G, G, and H, and town and local roads. The scale being excellent, good, fair, poor, and no again.
There aren't very many state or county highways, so maybe we could try to list them all in that parentheses. Like there's, 118 is the other state highway, right? I just wanted, how would you prefer to do that? I mean, someone's going to say, well, Highway 8's not in here. Why,
Example. We need all the people read.
I'm kind of 50-50. What's anybody else think?
Well, as soon as you start listing them, then I'm gonna say, well, gee, I don't even know where that road is, so how can I rate it?
That sounds to me like it stays as is.
George? Yeah, I wonder if we even need this question, because actually all those roads are rated by the county or the city. I don't think there's one of them out there that doesn't have a PACER score. Is that a correct assumption, Dan?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we do a PACER score for them, but that's what the highway commissioner and public works director think the roads are like. It's not what the general public thinks.
Okay, so we're just trying to get the pulse of,
Right, because if you're taking this survey on Bad River, you're going to say federal roads stink. Because Highway 2 does stink on the reservation. If you live in the city of Ashland, you're going to say, no, they're not, Highway 2 is not bad.
good point. Thank you. Okay.
And then
I think that we lost the mic for Emily.
how about now?
Oh, perfect.
There it
Thank
is.
you.
I don't even know I think my pen touched my button. And then number 23, how satisfied are you with the condition and availability of the following types of transportation infrastructure in Ashland County? If you do not use or encounter a type, select not applicable. There are sidewalks, crosswalks, and benches, bicycle lanes, paths, and racks, non-motorized trails like walking and biking, paved roads, gravel roads, motorized trails for ATV, UTV, snowmobile, bridges and culverts, and traffic signals, signage, and lighting. Parking areas, electric vehicle charging stations, airport facilities. And the scale is satisfied, neutral, dissatisfied, or not applicable.
Comments? Personally, I like the structure of that kind of question.
Good.
Dissatisfied to dissatisfied. Yeah.
And then, oh, was that someone?
I know Bart is coming up in the next one, but I wondered why it wasn't in 23. And then also, the
Would
ferry
you
is-
qualify that as service or infrastructure or both?
Parts of service, not infrastructure.
So that's why it's in the services section and not in the infrastructure section.
Okay.
That makes sense?
Yeah. I don't know if the ferries now run out of the town of La Pointe, right? Which is in Bayfield County. Is it worth adding something about the ferry infrastructure?
Say that again, please.
The ferry on Madeline Island is no longer owned by a private company. It's owned by the town. And Paul can correct me if I'm wrong. So I just wondered if we should add the ferry as a type of transportation infrastructure in Ashland County.
I would say yes. The two terminals, one is in Bayfield County, the other is in Ashland County.
I think that's important.
You can do that. Any other revisions?
Good catch, Lisa.
And then which types of transportation infrastructure should be prioritized for investment over the next 10 years? And that's a select up to 3, and it's that same list. And we'll add the ferry. Any thoughts?
I guess it gets back to that ranking. Even if they're gonna select 3, I guess I would like them to 1, 2, 3.
Rank those? Is that possible? Can you rank?
Yeah, we can.
If the group agrees, I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah, we can change that to a ranking question.
I think there's another aspect of this is on water transportation, because we have commercial capacity for water transportation. And we have marinas and boat landings for recreational water transportation. And those are pretty important to a lot of people. Yeah. Comments on that?
Yeah, that's not on there, is it?
Marinas.
Oh, there's a lot of boat landings and docks. They're in various phases of shape.
It occurred to me when I was reading through this earlier that this is an Ashland County comprehensive plan, and yet there's, I think, no shortage of questions in here where if we ask now, what can Ashland County, if we're talking about the Ashland County government, do we have direct involvement or control over? And some of these things, not necessarily this one, but do we have bicycle lanes, is that in the county? Do we have paved roads? Maybe we do somewhere, but they're pretty limited. But I mean, sometimes these questions strike me as the county as a whole, regardless of the unit of government. And sometimes they strike me as very specifically the Ashland County government, if we're using this for input on decision-making and budgets.
Yeah, well, some highways are federal and some are city and some are county.
Yeah, so we've got federal highways, we plow them and stuff, but it just seems like some of the questions with some of the choices are just simply out of our purview, and therefore we're less focused than otherwise. But on the other hand, it's really good to get all this input, because then we see, okay, maybe this isn't our purview or domain or place, say some certain things related to zoning. But at least we understand that, and we can work with, townships or other cities on those issues.
Gives you the.
Is there any change in the questionnaire you're proposing?
Well, it's just a thought, and I'll leave it with Northwest Regional Planning, is sometimes it seems like very much in the Ashland County government wheelhouse, and sometimes it seems like, I'm not sure this is in our wheelhouse at all. And is that okay?
Yes, I think that both perspectives are important, and that brings it to the overall arching, the intergovernmental cooperation part of a comprehensive plan.
Carla, you've got your
Good,
mic on.
fine.
You have a comment?
Well, I was just gonna tell Pat, so when we gather all this, then we'll decide what's important to us, and then after we do that, we'll see what levers we need to thumb to do, and some of them might be letters to the state, or,
Yeah.
or we acknowledge there's nothing to be done, and it turns into a green dot, a yellow dot, or a red dot, if it makes it to the action section, so.
Sorry, I have my hand up. I had a real question with that on number 31, and I'm not going to make a big deal out of it, but if, again, I've shared the survey with a couple of people who are not involved in all of this service providing. It sounds like we are offering those things. So if the county doesn't have, traffic signals, it says what types of transportation should be prioritized for investment. If we get a lot of people for some reason saying traffic signals, then our role is just to tell like a municipality, hey, we found out that a lot of people want traffic signals.
Yes.
I just want to maybe somewhere make it clear that, like, especially question 31, because a lot of these, the county doesn't offer. Some they do through like HHS, but
It strikes me that maybe we could build a one sentence or two sentences from Pat's idea into the introduction.
or at each
Can we say
question.
in the introduction, some of these things are under the control of the Ashland County government. Some of them are general to our overall community. We're looking for your comments.
That could
Yeah.
be doable.
Thoughts on that idea? Yeah.
That makes sense, but then including Emily's comment about intergovernmental cooperation, because that's really why it's valuable, is because then we understand areas where we could work together. Because a lot of things, it's not just one organization that does it. It's two or more are involved in making something better.
Yeah, and the county board seeks issues support of various actions and endeavors undertaken by other organizations frequently in our resolutions. So it's not that the Ashland County Board doesn't get engaged with things that we don't actually pay for.
And I just didn't see in my version anyway, last revised October 27th in the intro, that some of these are things that the county provides and some of the questions relate to services provided by other municipalities.
Yeah, we can make that sort of addition in the digital version.
Okay.
So then we added ferry terminals and water transportation infrastructure for the transportation infrastructure questions. Any other additions or changes?
Yes, sir. Oh, I'm sorry.
Because then we get into the services. How satisfied are you with the following transportation services in Ashland County? If you do not use a service, select not applicable. There's public transit like the BART bus, transportation for people with mobility challenges or disabilities, private medical or non-emergency medical rides, school bus transportation, rideshare, community shuttle programs, emergency transport service like the ambulance, electric vehicle infrastructure, scale satisfied, neutral, dissatisfied, or not applicable.
Liz?
I think transportation for the aging should be involved in that, and also taxi services. Taxi.
Just a process question. So what is this gonna look like if I'm supposed to put a S next to it so if say I was rating public transit BART, does each of those scale things have a number associated with it? And that's what it would mean, or?
That question is going to be, you'll have the item like the public transit and then 4 checkboxes, one for your level of satisfaction.
Okay,
Each sub item is going to have 4 possible responses.
buy it. All right. Thank you.
Any other changes? And then 26, which transportation services should be prioritized for improvement or investment? And that says select up to 3. And it's the same list, so we'll include aging and taxi service.
1, 2, or 3. Rank all those 3 answer ones as well.
Yeah, we can do that as a rank choice.
So any of those that say select up to 3 in this version, should those be ranking?
I think that's what.
All right.
Yeah.
Any other changes for 24? 25, how satisfied are you with the following transportation services in Ashland County? We did that. 26, which transportation services, which should be prioritized for improvement or investment? What is your primary mode of travel to work or regular activities? And that's walk, bicycle, personal vehicle, carpool, public transportation, or other, please specify. Yes.
What jumps out on me in that one is I live up in Northland, biked up to the tech school where I worked for a long time, including in the winter, typically every day. The biking thing for a lot of people is more seasonal than it was for me. It still is. So you got the word primary in there, which is so ironic because we've done these select all that apply. And for people that do a fair bit of biking, especially if it's seasonal, it doesn't really, I don't know if we're going to capture some people that do a fair bit of biking. We've been adding bike lanes, which is a good thing. I would suggest, you have 2 primary at the least so that people do a fair bit of biking that can get captured at least.
2 primary.
Because
Preferred. How about preferred instead of primary? Your
What is
preferred
your
mode.
preferred mode of travel?
then if you
Or what
prefer
are
to
you-
go by bike, but you can't do it in a foot of snow, then, still,
or, well, but there's a lot of people that bike, 6 months a year, but what are your two primary modes of transportation? So that, because, we've been adding bike lanes, there's bike lane now on Ellis and, in other places, they've been adding them. And it'd be nice to see evidence that, if we could have at least two choices, that we're seeing evidence that there are people biking, which gives the city council support for adding bike lanes, because not everybody supports that, but. if the
Listen, you have
surveys-
your hand up?
Yeah.
The
Well,
city already
one-
has ample reason to add bike lanes.
Lisa?
They get public funding for it.
One, I didn't like this question or 27. I'm not sure why it's on there. What are we trying to get at? Because our last three questions sort of said, what do you prioritize as important? What do you want us to spend more attention on? I'm not sure why we now are asking, like, what is my primary mode of travel? My mode of travel to work is way different than my regular activities, for me personally. I just don't understand why these were in there. Seemed like we want to know what ways, how people prioritize different types of transportation and what they want the county to be more involved in. And the bike lanes, to me, I associate mainly with the city, but I don't know anybody else in the county that has a bike lane except Bad River on Highway 2.
Other comments? I just say that I like Pat's idea of, what are my two most preferred modes of transportation? And I sympathize with Lisa's comment about bike lanes, but bike lanes getting out into the rural parts of the county are getting to be really important, because those are the roads that are really dangerous for bicycle riders. High-speed highways.
Yeah, but didn't we ask that question in the four questions above it?
I just wanted to mention that I like the idea of a single choice for this answer. But I think preferred would be the way to go, because if you're preferred, if it was nice 365 days of the year, you would take your bike to work. I mean, I think that probably doesn't need to be multiple answers to this question. Just wanted to point that out, I guess.
Other comments? It's a consensus here. Charlie?
And to Lisa's point, Lisa, I think we're just trying to establish what people would like to see if we're supporting that as much as we could or should. And obviously, we need more bike trails. But do we have the money? Who knows? But at least we'd know. So if everybody says they want more bike trails, that would have more.
I think it's
Be more
highly
moving.
unlikely that the majority of the county are going to say their preference is bike trails, because I don't think a lot of us ride bicycles. So I think
agree
other.
with all of that. Oh, sorry, you were cutting out there. Thought you were done.
Comment, Lisa?
I agree with all of those conversations. It just, if we go back to 23, how satisfied we are with the condition, what types of transportation infrastructure should be prioritized? Bike lanes are in there. How satisfied are you? I'm just not sure how we're going to use the info, and maybe regional planning can help. If you find out that 90% of our people, their primary or their preference mode of travel to work is vehicles, like, how does that help us do anything? And then
Yeah.
work and regular activities, for me personally, are really different modes of transportation. Like, I will be able to walk to work all the time, but if I want to go shopping at Walmart, I've got to drive. So putting them together in one question throws me. And then I'm not sure what we're doing with the answer of what's my one-way commute time? Like, how will that inform the plan and what we are going to do in the future?
What do you think, Emily?
I think those are reasonable considerations, because these are also information that's available from the U.S. Census Bureau, things like primary modes of travel and your commute time. Is this something is important to ask the community, the public,
So what I hear and what you're saying is that this enables us to compare ourselves to other communities around the state in terms of what's important to them, what's their primary mode, how they answer this question. And personally, I'd actually like reinforcing questions. One question is one datum. A second question that attacks the same idea from a different angle helps me understand really what the person's being said. Liz?
How about it could be worded, what is your mode of travel to work? Question mark. And then regular activities. And you could have two different boxes.
Yeah,
like that,
thanks,
Emily?
Liz. That's what I was suggesting.
sounds-
Keeping it.
Does that
Anybody
sound
else?
like consensus?
That sounds good.
And then how about the commute time? Is that a necessary?
I think the question 28, are you talking about? Pat?
Well, the commute suggests or implies people are working, but for a good chunk of people that are retired, there's not an option to say, I don't commute or,
Mhm.
or something. So it doesn't give me an opt-out here, or maybe a not applicable.
Yeah, I like the idea of adding a not applicable because commute is significant because people are trying to get to work by the time they're supposed to be at work. And if you're retarded like me, then you have a lot of flexibility. So commute time is kind of significant, I think. Yeah.
I I was just wondering, is this question specifically to work, the commute time to work, or is this like, because resident or retired people, from Clam Lake or Butternut, I mean, they still come to Ashland, and there are, different things around the county that they come for. I'm not sure, so I didn't know what the question was relating to.
I think typically commute relates to where you're working.
That raises another important possible question, though, which is, what is your primary mode of transportation for shopping? Particular people how they get their groceries is actually a pretty significant question. Is there a way we could incorporate that? Dan?
Well, I think that's a good point because you can have Walmart deliver your food now. Yeah. Walmart will do all your shopping for you and have it pick it up,
Charlie?
Kind of thought that was regular activities in 27 then. So here's your primary to work, and then one of your regular activities would be shopping, right? Would that be covered under that
I think
category
so.
there? That's,
If we need a
I
second,
was looking at it, but I'm a weirdo, so.
I think, Emily, do we need a second question, or is there a way to make this a two-part question?
So right now it's the two-part, what's your mode of travel to work? And then there's the what's your mode of travel for regular activities?
Okay,
And regular activities would encompass things like shopping.
yeah. Other thoughts on that? Carice, you want to say something?
So I do think it's important to have the primary preferred travel to your recreational spots that you'd like to go to. I also think possibly there could be a question in regards to like what George was saying, the people coming to Ashland to shop for their groceries and everything. There's some people that will get their local groceries at their local grocery stores, but then they make their big shopping trips up to Ashland and they plan for that. And so I don't know if that makes a difference at all.
Okay, folks, we have 30 minutes and 25 questions to go. So let's move on.
So we'll break those into two, and then we'll include not applicable in the commute time. And then utilities and community facilities. Which Ashland County government services have you used in the past 5 years? So there's aging and disability, county clerk, county treasurer, emergency management, extension, forestry, land records, health and human services, highway, land and water conservation, sheriff's office, veterans services, and zoning.
Pat? Yeah.
The first one, Aging and Disability Resource Center is the proper title, which is on the county website also.
All right, so we'll do that in 29 and in number 30.
Let me add this. I think a lot of people reading this aren't going to think of some of these things as services, although they really are. So I would maybe say departments or services. Is
Department.
someone going to say, what's the land and conservation, water conservation service? Or, what's the forestry service? What's the department?
Include that in the responses? Or in the question?
Can we add Ashland Aging to it also? Ashland Aging,
Yes.
the aging unit. I mean, we fund them significantly. And we keep getting lots of complaints, so.
Got
Okay.
that. And then number 30,
I had my hand raised.
oh,
What we have, it's forestry and recreation.
forestry and recreation.
Mhm.
And then 30 asks about dissatisfaction with those that you have used, and we'll make those same changes for Aging and Disability Resource Center, Ashland Aging, Forestry and Recreation.
And are all of those departments? Could we just say county departments?
Are they all departments? Departments or services?
Well, the Aging and Disability Resource Center is not a county department. It's not a department though, is it?
It's not
It's under health.
HHS, but
But we don't have,
it's co-run with Douglas County and Bayfield County.
yeah, if you leave the word or in there, we're okay.
Okay,
Otherwise, it's under the umbrella of the Health and Human Services.
okay.
Yeah.
Any other changes? Then the next, how satisfied are you with the following community and social services in Ashland County? And this is that broad list. So we have, so far there is police services, fire protection services, emergency medical services like the ambulance, trash and recycling collection, parks and recreation facilities, library services, schools, community centers and meeting spaces, medical services, mental health services, domestic violence support services, childcare services, senior services, public access to lakes, rivers, and streams, internet service, cellular service, animal control, public transportation, community centers and meeting spaces, emergency shelters like those for severe weather, food assistance programs like the food pantries and meal program. Scale satisfied, neutral, dissatisfied, or not applicable. What do you think about this current list?
Could we change schools to public schools?
Yes.
And just to the comment on there, we do have animal control.
Okay.
We,
think that was-
county board just voted on that.
That was a comment from somebody that reviewed these questions. Any others that we should add?
Yeah, I put in the chat that the county calls law enforcement the sheriffs or deputies, so I would change police to like law enforcement.
Law
services.
enforcement? Anything else?
Well, if you're gonna include things like law enforcement and trash and recycling, I mean, wouldn't we want to do water utilities too? Water and storm, water and sewer? if we're gonna include all this other stuff.
I think so. There are lots of planning implications related to understanding that satisfaction.
Well, if we're gonna include services that the county does not provide, such as fire protection, trash and recycling, library, schools, shouldn't we include water
Cell
utility and
service, internet.
sewer utility?
Yeah, I know this brings up the question I had earlier about this question. I just can't get my mind around while we're asking about how satisfied they are with services not offered by the county.
Yeah, I had a list here of things that I wondered about, like, how reliable is your electrical service? County doesn't provide it, but it's really important, especially in the rural areas. You know, how convenient is your source of drinking water? You got so many people just run down to the artesian well because they don't like their drinking water. Or, how affordable is your heating and cooling, which actually the county, through Health and Human Services, does help with sometimes. Which sources of energy do you prefer? So there are other utility related things that we could bake in.
I guess I'm saying if we're gonna include all these things that the county doesn't provide, then we should include the water and sewer. Otherwise, we should just do county services. And then again, and Emily, how many of these questions really are on the US Census also?
So
Related to these services?
This question, yeah.
None of these are within the census, but you can find some of this information from other sources. Like Health and Human Services has some of the child care services and senior services, public access information from the DNR. Do you have a preference on which direction you want to go with this? Do you have a preference on the direction to go with this? Because now it's like sort of a laundry list.
Charlie?
Yeah, we need the laundry list. The county is everybody. I mean, we've got wards, we have city people who sit on the county board representing Ashland. There's the town of Jingles, all the townships. I say we collect everything, everybody's opinion on anything that happens in the county, whether we do it or not, because then we'll know how people feel. And if it's a problem in Ashland, we'll be able to do some intergovernmental communications and at least let them know there's a perception out there that you're failing here or there. But that could be the same with Glidden or Butternut, wherever we collect. I mean, it's the whole county, and the county consists of all these places, including city of Ashland, which is 9,000 people. You'll lose out that information if you select out any categories because it's a city. Thank you.
And water and sewer is a big issue right now in Glidden and Butternut and Glidden and Mellon and the town of Jacobs in general. They're struggling with their system down there, and so it's a big question for that part of the county.
Yeah, and in a general rural part of the county, holding tanks, like we're on a holding tank where I live, because a lot of red clay and septic systems, and this has to be part of sanitation issues with the county. So I'm with Charlie. I think we cast, to my opinion, we cast a broad net because we want to know what people are having problems with. So even if we can't address it as a county. Liz?
I'd like to add television or satellite service or providers.
Makes sense.
Going back to the water and sewer, I just got my water bill and the letter from the city saying how my rates are going up and by how much. I would suggest on the water and sewer and then putting in parentheses afterwards, excluding the cost for the service. Because if you ask it just as water and sewer, and the first thing people think about is what I'm paying, a lot of dissatisfied. So if you put excluding the cost for the service, then hopefully they focus on the actual water and sewer service as opposed to what they're paying for it.
There's a lot of people.
Let me throw in here, the way I worded it is, how satisfied are you with your sanitary waste and disposal situation, because sewers are only in the small cities, but sanitation and disposal is a problem for everybody, including cost of having your holding tank pumped or having your septic system repaired. So sanitation systems is a more general term. Thoughts?
Or septic
Septic.
system. Say sewer/septic, and then you cover both.
No,
the
because a
cities.
holding tank is not a septic system.
Bruce?
Yeah.
Bruce,
Okay, it was differentiated from a system where that leaches the fluids into the ground versus ones that have to be hauled away by a truck.
zoning administrator right here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how would you, well, how would you define those two alternatives?
So it's still, the state considers it still a septic. It's part of the POTS, private on-site wastewater treatment system, even though it has to be pumped.
So, but the average citizen out there doesn't know what the state thinks. They only know that they either have a holding tank with a hole they punched in the bottom of it, or a septic system that cost them a lot to install because they had to bring in sand and gravel, or they're on a sewer system where they have to pay for the amount of water that goes down the drain. So that's why I prefer the phrase just sanitary system, sanitary waste. They might have an outhouse, you know?
But houses aren't legal.
Final wording? What's the final wording?
You guys think?
Just,
I don't care how this goes with Pat. I think I would like to know if they're upset with the costs of anything, just so we know. Whether it's water or,
Well, if you want to hit the cost thing, that would be a separate question. But
okay,
you're going to get so many, at least in the city of Ashland, negative responses on the water and sewer, because first thing people are going to think about is the cost. And we should differentiate or be able to distinguish, am I unhappy with the cost or am I unhappy with the service?
I agree, but I would like to have data when I'm at the meetings, wherever they are, that says, folks don't like this. This is unpopular. So let's try and do something else, or let's try and get these lower. And if
Yeah.
we have places where we collected that and we have numbers, it just helps us.
But, I mean, we both have been on the city council and you know darn well that if you don't raise your water and sewer rates to pay for what needs to be paid for, the state will make you do it. So I'm not sure what we would gain, at least from the city perspective, of finding out if they're happy about the cost or not, because either you do it or the state tells you you're going to make those investments, which is part of what's going on now.
Fun fact about the city of Ashland, there are people who have wells. So they pump their own water, but they pay a sewer tax for the water that goes down the drain, and they're metered under a well. Charlie?
Yeah, well, maybe we'll do an intergovernmental ask of Madison to settle down with their water rating. I mean, who knows what we'll end up doing if we want to do something about it. But if the only scale we have to leverage is, making a legislative request, at least we'll have, everybody in this town hates this volume of, the amount this costs. Give us, a little more profit, revenue sharing or something. Anyway, I just want the data because I feel like it's better to have it than not. But you make good points about the reality on the ground.
How do you want?
Let's just go with sewer and sanitary waste.
And then how about the question about cost?
I think that's getting too specific, Pat. Fun fact for the committee, we're getting the boot out of this room in about 25 minutes. So I'm going to ask Emily, how do you want to handle this situation? You don't want.
Thing.
Okay, go ahead.
George, if we're almost towards the end, zoning can start a little late. We have a little flexibility, yeah.
And then how satisfied are you with broadband internet access in Ashland County? Satisfied, neutral, dissatisfied, not applicable. And then ag, cultural and natural resources questions. Should the following natural resources be preserved or enhanced, and how should efforts be funded? And that's select one option for each, which is yes, use local tax dollars. Yes, use private funding. Yes, use a combination of public and private funding. No, not important to me. For forests, wetlands, lakes, rivers and streams, farmland, community open space, parks and beaches, public trails, or sporting activities like fishing and hunting. Which natural
Can we add recreation areas?
recreation areas?
Yeah, I'm not sure what community open space was, but most people would understand what
Do you
recreation
think
areas
have
are.
that instead of open space? Yes?
Probably. I mean, a park might not be a community open space, or a campground might not be open space, might be in a forest or something. I just would lump them all as recreation areas.
Okay. Then
And then-
there's which natural resources should receive the highest priority for funding or preservation efforts, and then we'll use that same list. And this is, we said we would rank.
Is it at all necessary to say Lake Superior, which is
Lake
different
Superior?
than inland lakes? I mean, they're both, inland lakes and Lake Superior are all lakes, but you know, there's quite a bit of difference in how somebody might prioritize funding or preservation.
Should we inland lakes and then have Lake Superior?
Yeah.
Okay. And then community resources, should the following community resources receive funding and from what sources? Select one option for each. That's the use local tax dollars, use private funding, use a combination of public and private funding, or no, it's not important. Community resources, including historically significant buildings and sites, Ojibwe language and cultural events, music and concert festivals, arts and theater events, area sporting events, recreation facilities like soccer fields, baseball fields, and pickleball courts, museums, libraries, public art receptions, and displays.
I would like lacrosse fields put in there somewhere. I don't know if under Ojibwe cultural activities or the actual fields, but lacrosse is spreading, and it's something we're promoting.
Lacrosse?
Could you add either the county fair or community fairs?
Yes.
On the recreation facilities, can we put the EG in there for examples?
Yeah, let's do that.
And it could be soccer fields with an S.
Yeah. Any other changes? And then which resources should receive the highest priority for funding and support? And we'll use that same list as the previous question. And then 37, do you think more trails should be developed in Ashland County? Yes, no, or no opinion? Mhm.
I think, I think about this, we don't have enough bike trails. If we just like, what are the people thinking? If somebody'd say yes and think a motorized four-wheeler trail or a snowmobile trail.
So then how it is laid out now, if someone selects yes, it would then go to the next question. What types of trails should be prioritized?
Sorry.
And that would be motorized, non-motorized, multi-use, or all of the above.
I should have read ahead. I apologize.
Any changes?
Could we turn it into one question and say, what if any type of trails should be prioritized?
Is that possible?
Because if in the first question, if you say trails and in your mind, you're thinking, walking trails and somebody else doesn't realize there's other types, they may never get to the next question.
To get around that, we could just put, motorized, non-motorized, et cetera, in parentheses in that question. So they know what types of trails we're talking about, that we're talking about trails in general, all types.
Does that work better for making the survey?
Does that work for you, Pat?
I think So obviously, if I was a random tasker and I was looking at this and I didn't read ahead like I didn't, I wouldn't know they were. So I see some value in kind of making the questions one, but I don't care if we don't. Obviously, maybe just look down like I did. Oops.
Is there a consensus on this? Are we okay leaving it alone, or do you want to change it?
Maybe you
Ben,
want to take skiing out because
Say again?
maybe you want to take skiing out because we don't have really any skiing in the county or a place to ski.
But if we're thinking about 10 years advance, maybe, unless we don't get snow.
Why
in
don't we
okay.
take skiing out for cross country? Yeah,
All right.
okay.
I'd leave it as 2 questions.
Leave as 2 questions, but then
Mhm.
we'll also put that within that first question, motorized, non-motorized qualifier. Then economic development, which types of new businesses would you like to see in Ashland County? Farms or food producers, artisan or craft shops, grocery stores or markets, restaurants or cafes, hotels or other lodging, outdoor recreation businesses, arts and entertainment venues, healthcare services, home repair or property services, renewable energy or green technology services, veterinary or care services, and in other, please specify.
The word new in here, as I started reading through the list, I kind of struggled with. So new, and on one hand, suggests to me it's something that's not here. And then most of what's in the list does, do I want more of certain kinds of businesses that are already here? So new or expanded, maybe, businesses?
New or expanded?
I had the
You
same
have-
question, but I wondered, could it say, what types of businesses would you like to see enhanced or added to? Added
Enhanced or added to?
or just enhanced or added in?
Added? Which types of new businesses would you like added
Or enhanced?
or enhanced?
Because we know we already have farms and food producers, but I think the goal of this question is, how do you want your future economic development planning and priorities to be developed? So you're asking which types of businesses would you like to see added or enhanced? I would like to see farms and food producers added and enhanced.
You've got artisan or craft shops. Could you reword arts and entertainment venues to music and entertainment venues? Because arts is already kind of in
Music and,
artisan.
yes, that makes sense.
Thank you.
There's manufacturing is not in the list, and neither is fabricating.
Any others? Which strategies should be prioritized to support economic development in Ashland County? The ranking, diversify economy beyond seasonal tourism, strengthen the tourism economy, encourage small businesses and entrepreneurship, offer redevelopment incentives, attract remote workers, strengthen the arts and culture sector, strengthen the local food economy, support renewable energy and green industries, expand manufacturing opportunities, and other.
I don't see fabricating.
Fabricating.
I'm sorry. Please add fabricating.
The supervisors from Down County, meaning everything but the city of Ashland, one of the things that's really important to them are all things related to forestry and value added related to forestry logging. I don't know if we really capture anything in there. Some forest related,
The manufacturing was already on the list. It's right above where they added manufacturing.
Land use. How much do you agree or disagree with the following statements? Ashland County zoning is effective for managing land use. Ashland County zoning ordinances are consistently and fairly enforced. That's agree, neither agree or disagree.
Dan or Bruce can correct me if I'm wrong here, but the Ashland County zoning does not apply to the city of Ashland nor to Mellon and Butternut.
No, we do. Do Mellon and Butternut, please.
So
Not unless they got private. If there's private sewer systems within the municipality, then we have to be involved.
Be my guess that most people aren't going to know how to answer this question. I think we might want to ask is, should there be more accessible information or better visibility to zoning requirements in the county? Because I don't.
We're already doing that. We're already in the process of doing that.
Okay.
We in the budget prior to the one we passed yesterday was purchasing Municode, which is a complete ordinance rewrite, and it will have all of our zoning ordinances up online. You can just type in like a Google search, type in pouts or septic or whatever, and all the rules will come right up. So it's if you want to look at the what is that city right outside of Wausau where all the businesses are located? It's Rib Mountain. If you want to look at their website, you can see an example of what I'm talking about.
if we simply removed Ashland counties from these, then starting with zoning, and you can do sort by where people live, then you could get perspectives on zoning related to where each person lives.
That sounds reasonable.
Are we all okay with that? Okay, we're almost there.
Over the next 10 years, which priorities should Ashland County focus on? Protect natural environments and water resources, preserve farmland, maintain rural character, improve access to outdoor and wilderness spaces, increase public access to lakes and rivers, expand workforce housing options, support commercial and industrial development, and other, please specify. For each of the following land uses, should Ashland County encourage, maintain, or limit them? Commercial farms, home-based business, short-term rentals, development that divides large parcels, manufacturing and industrial uses, data or technology centers, renewable energy installations like wind and solar, airport facilities and operations, road and bridge improvements, public or recreational facilities, and waterfront development.
Yeah, I'd still be interested in qualifying short-term rentals to say 1 month or less in parentheses.
We can do that.
Another comment on the short-term rentals, Wisconsin statutes defines a short-term rental as 7 days or less.
On the first one with commercial farms, personally, I would take out the word commercial.
Take out the word commercial. Census.
That was one of the reasons I had my hand up. I mean, we did have a CAFO proposed quite formally and visibly.
Some people will think
It might pop up again in the future. It would be good to hear what people think about maybe large scale farming and in parentheses such as concentrated animal feeding operations.
Commercial would imply that you're doing this for a living.
Large scale farming
Yeah.
instead of commercial.
Want to limit farms, you can limit farms of any size. So I don't know if large scale makes it too restrictive a question. I would leave it.
Information would you be most interested
Can we have one conversation, please? Could we have one conversation, please? Yeah, Alyssa, can't hear you.
I know what this is trying to get at, but we want family farms. I think we want family farms for all the reasons. Commercial farm is a specific word such as a large scale enterprise, like a CAFO, concentrated animal feeding operation. There's
Yeah,
a
okay,
big
but
distinction.
Alyssa, we don't know that that's the opinion of everybody in the county.
No, I'm just asking, we should ask them for each of the following land uses, should Ashland County encourage, maintain, or limit? People might want commercial farms. They bring in a lot of money, blah, 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 all the reasons we heard. That's very different than a family-run, locally owned farm.
Should we
So I'm
include both?
suggesting we keep the word commercial.
Should we also include family farms as one of
Sure.
the ones
Yeah.
to,
Yeah,
and then I think encourage,
different.
maintain, limit, or no opinion is a sort of unbiased way to look at that.
yeah.
Moving on.
And
then
then,
development, where it says development up there, is that housing development or any development that divides large parcels? That seems kind of vague to me and to one other person who took this survey as a sample. Right under there where it says development that divides large parcels. Is that housing development or industrial parks? I don't know.
any development that divides large parcels, which seems to be a trend in some places.
Housing moving into rural areas is one thing that's fragmenting farmland. But I think if we leave it as any development that divides large parcels, that's covered under that. But I think maybe even just development that divides large parcels,
It doesn't matter if
Yeah.
it's agriculture or residential.
right? I think it's covered all right, Lissa.
Yeah, now that you've added the word any, it's more clear. We're
Oh,
talking
you
about
want to add
anything.
any? Okay.
Yeah, not just housing, not just industrial parks, any,
Okay.
like it.
Then how should housing development occur in Ashland County over the next 10 years? And this one was moved from the housing section since it's about preferred residential land use. That would be homes grouped together with shared open space, homes on larger lots, homes combined with shops or services, apartments, townhomes, condominiums, seasonal or recreational homes like cabins and cottages, energy efficient or sustainable homes, and the scale high priority, medium, low, or not a priority. Sustainability. Question 1, sustainability means meeting today's needs without reducing the ability of future generations to meet theirs while caring for our economy, environment, and community. How sustainable do you consider Ashland County today? Not sustainable, slightly sustainable, moderately sustainable, very sustainable, or unsure. Which areas should be the focus of Ashland County's future sustainability efforts over the next 10 years? And this is rank your top priorities. Food systems with local food, agriculture, access to healthy food, energy like renewable energy and energy efficiency, sustainable housing, energy efficient homes, and green building, transportation, public transit, electric vehicles, biking, walking, environmental and natural resource protection for forest, water, land, economic development like jobs and local businesses, community and health services, public health and social services, and land use and zoning, planning and development policy examples. Do you support Ashland County exploring renewable energy options, for example, wind, solar, EV, or heat pumps? Yes, no, or unsure. And then the demographics. Which municipality do you live in or own property in? And that would be a drop-down list, and then also have one for other. It'll be should we say primary?
I'd say change it to which,
Okay,
where your primary residence is located.
yeah, I'd say, yeah, but then what about the people that just own land that don't have a residence in Ashland County? So we had a testimony yesterday at the county board meeting. The resident of Bayfield County who owns land in Ashland County. Oh, then they're not a resident of Ashland County. Okay. Charlie?
Will they be able to pick more than one? You could just change the boxes that otherwise and let them pick more than one. Could you?
What do we do in other places?
I think when we've run into this in other counties, we split it into two questions. Primary residence and do you own land elsewhere in Ashland County? As a yes or no.
Works for me.
Okay. I think if we make it primary residence, then you're okay.
What is your age range? Under 18, 18 to 24, 25 to 34, 35 to 44, 45 to 54, 55 to 64, and 65 or older.
Just noting here, 18 falls in the 18 to 24. And if we look at the next one, if you're 18, there, you can't check either. So I think in the next question, 18 or over should be the second choice, because then it would be consistent with the one Emily just read.
Sure. And then the next, including yourself, how many people live in your household? Under 18 or 18 years or over. The highest level of education you've completed, high school diploma or GED. Some college, no degree, associate degree, bachelor's degree, graduate or professional degree.
There's a fair amount of homeschooling in Ashland County. And so when you say high school diploma or GED, there's not a small number of people who have been homeschooled and necessarily don't have a high school diploma or GED, but did get, some education. And I'm not sure if we need to include another option in here so those people have something to check.
Also, well, yeah, this will only be answered by adults. So Dan?
There's also people who just never graduate high school.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's wrap this up.
Your annual household income range, less than 25 to 49,999, 50,000 to 74,999, 75,000 to 99,999, 100,000 to 149,999, and 150,000 or more.
This question for most people, a lot of people, is going to imply, what do I get in my paycheck? But, you go back to butternut where people outside are buying it up. They may not have a high income from a job, but they've got investment income. So do we want to phrase that in a way from household income and or investments so that these people who are living off of significant investments are captured more accurately?
Could we say household budget? That work?
What is your annual household budget?
That if you spend 50,000 a year but make $1 million, it doesn't quite capture that household income and or investments. Then the people with significant investment income would realize we're implying that also, because I think we want to capture that, don't we?
I would.
Or not?
I mean, I tend to think of my income as what's on my tax return, which includes investment income.
Yeah, I think that's just a common way of phrasing that question, that it's implied.
Could we say taxable income to
Taxable
hopefully
income?
prompt the people to think about not the paycheck, but
This is a rough metric. I'm happy with just household income myself.
Taxable is going to lower the numbers for everybody because you're going to go to your AGI. So
Any changes to that? Household income?
sense of the group, I'd rather just leave it alone myself. Anybody else?
And then for demographic purposes, what is your gender identity? Man, woman, non-binary, other, prefer not to answer. How do you usually stay informed about Ashland County news and updates? Select all that apply. The county website, text alerts, social media, YouTube videos of county meetings, county agendas and minutes, local radio or newspaper, and then other.
I was looking some stuff up related to the county recently, and I was rather, I don't know, dismayed, shocked. But with AI, it pulls up an awful lot of stuff that isn't necessarily captured, at least to me, on this list here. But it's a way people can get a lot of information. And in fact, is what pops up first on these searches. And maybe I'll leave it to you folks to come up with maybe another cell there. But, you know, this AI stuff on searches pulls up stuff before you get to the other stuff.
Yeah, I've got a funny story about that. I got a Gmail alert for my name. And so I went to the site that my name was on, and it was an AI generated synopsis of one of these Ashland County meetings that I did not even attend, but my name was mentioned in. And it was incredibly inaccurate. It didn't really capture what went on at the meeting at all. And
Yeah,
I don't know if that's a real useful source of information.
The problem with bringing in the question of AI is definition. A lot of people don't know what it is and how to differentiate. It's just computerized internet source of information, basically. But there is another unreliable source of information that's really, really common, which is word of mouth.
Yes.
And this is pervasive in this community. Word of mouth is how a lot of people get their information. And it might be inaccurate, but that's how they get it. Would add that. Charlie?
Well,
Wrapped up here.
So we'll take all of this, put it into the digital survey version, which shouldn't take very long. But then the next thing we need to figure out is the timeline for when this survey is released and open to the public. What's the deadline? Like, do we in November sometime
I'm guessing January, Dan.
to release this to the public?
Release it, how long are you gonna keep it open?
That would also be, usually it's about 6 weeks that we'd leave it open,
Then I
4 to
would,
6 weeks.
I'd wait till January because nobody's gonna be paying attention with the holidays.
Wait to January to have this available to the
Yeah,
public.
the holidays are
Makes
just
sense.
time to.
Yes, I would agree with that. We talked about that as well.
Okay, one other observation. I did this twice last night and today, and I'm a moderately slow reader, but so it's 20 to 25 minutes for me.
Okay.
So I think we got to be really upfront with people about how long this is going to take. You could say it's going to take 15 to 25 minutes.
And this might be different when you're in the digital version.
Yeah, I had to print it out. I worked real fast.
I mean, clicking the buttons.
No, it won't be any faster for me. So I'd say, I don't think you just make people angry by,
And then we have time then to figure out distribution of the survey. We'll create a survey link and a QR code for distribution. And we'll work with the county to get the word out on that on the county website, maybe the newsletter, news releases in the newspaper, things like that, social media.
Lissa.
Yep. We all know we have lots of senior people who are not on social media or a website. Will there be a way we can copy this? And I don't know what the final print size will look, but as I get older, little small print is hard to read. Is there a way to get print copies out to people who might not go electronically? Thank you.
We would probably just have to do that through the Word document.
When the tax bills go out, at least the ones I get, they include information about this, that, and the other. And if we could include some information on the survey and when it opens, then more people might see that otherwise, that aren't on social media or whatever otherwise.
I think that's a good idea. Other counties have done similar.
So when do the tax bills go out, Dan?
Is that,
Go ahead, November, December. Yeah, I don't think the cities have, what they have, what, till November 20th or something?
The deadline to mail tax bills is the third.
Yeah, I mean, but when do the municipalities have to get you all the information? Okay, I always thought there was a deadline. Well, I know that city of Ashland will be like third weekend of November, like
okay.
18th or 20th,
So
isn't
they
it?
could even just have a notice that the survey is going to be upcoming to look out for that.
Okay, so moving on, Liz?
I just wouldn't tell the public how long it's gonna take because everybody does surveys in their own time. Just say it'll take a moderate, or not moderate, but a short amount of your time and we appreciate that or something to that effect.
Good idea. So we are very short on time now, so we're not going to be able to get all the way through our agenda today. So we're going to defer on subcommittee reports. And we have a meeting on the calendar for Thursday, November 20th at this time. And that's a meeting which Northwest Regional Planning is not planning to attend. And it's on the agenda to review our progress on the 2016 comprehensive plan and also give us time to do subcommittee reports and anything else that we need to talk about. So with that, I think we can entertain a motion to adjourn.
Oh, wait,
Mr.
just a question. I would say, does the committee want to meet on November 20th?
Beg your pardon?
I'm asking, does the committee want to meet on November 20th? I mean, that would,
Okay, well, we have a motion to adjourn. So let's get the second on that and then we can have discussion. Is there a second for the motion to adjourn?
no, once we second, we're adjourned.
Beg your pardon?
Under Robert's rules, once there's a second, we're adjourned.
Okay, so you want to vote on whether to adjourn or not?
Yeah. Do we,
Okay.
do we want to have, does the committee want to have a November meeting?
No, we have a motion on the floor to adjourn this meeting.
He
Right.
just withdrew it.
What?
He just withdrew it.
Oh, you withdraw your motion. Okay, so Dan, recognize you.
I'm saying, does the committee want to have a November 20th meeting?
Okay, so discussion.
So that's all I'm asking.
Charles, okay, other comments? So let me explain. The reason for the November, there won't be a meeting in December at all. So if there's no meeting in November, it won't be anything until January. Now, this committee has a responsibility to report back to the county board on its progress toward its comprehensive plan. And November is about the only time we'll have time availability to discuss our progress on the 2016 comprehensive plan. And by the way, if we individually in our elements review that progress, then it gives us a good starting point for our work going forward. So if you don't want to have the November committee meeting, I don't think we'll have time for that comprehensive plan review. So is there further discussion? And then we can take a vote. Okay, let's do a roll call vote on this. So the question is, should there be a November 20th comprehensive plan committee meeting? And we'll do it by roll call.
George Bousset,
Yes.
Bradley Ray is excused, Elizabeth Franick,
No.
Pat Kinney,
Yes.
Gary Mertig is excused, Paul Wilhelm,
Yes.
Dan Grady.
Abstain.
Lissa Radke says yes.
And Charlie Ortman. Thank you.
Okay, so next meeting is on November 20th, 2 p.m. And could we please make sure we have a full 2 hours?
We should, I don't foresee anything coming up. I don't think there's going to be any more committee meetings.
Our most recent 2 meetings have gotten shortened, so.
Well, I don't think there's going to be any more committee meetings except
Okay.
for maybe finance, and that won't be till December. Yeah.
Okay, November 20th here, and now I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.